All right, we live back like we never left. Alex here with Double Move Sports, talking some start, sit for week 2, also answering trade questions, answering pretty much any questions that come through. I got to get my head in the game here. Just ate my lunch in about 25 seconds to make this live stream in time. So I'm pulling up the matchups now. Still kind of digesting what happened last night in Washington between the Washington football team and the New York Giants. But I'll give it a minute, let some people roll in so we can get these questions flowing. I'll start out by talking about some of my takeaways from the game last night. First is on the Washington side. I thought Heineke looked good enough. Phil, what up, man? Thanks for joining us. But yeah, last night I thought Heineke looked good. I think wheels up for Terry McLaurin, funneled volume, 14 targets in that game. Super efficient, showed off his talent as well. So if you have McLaurin and you were worried about the Fitzpatrick injury, I think you have to be feeling pretty good about last night. On the flip side, I think Antonio Gibson is concerning. Not that he's not going to be a startable running back, but we were hoping for that upside with the receiving work as well. We saw J.D. McKissick have a huge game last night, and I think that's going to be something that just bothers people with Gibson on their roster all season long. So on the Washington side, I liked what I saw for the most part. Their offense still moved with Heineke. I mean, they put up 30 points, so that's really good to see. But I'm more in on McLaurin right now than I am on Gibson. If I had Gibson, I'd be just a little bit worried, but he'll be fine. He'll have his big weeks as the season goes on. And for the Giants, Saquon Barkley, he wasn't great for a fantasy output from a fantasy output perspective in this game, but 13 carries, 57 yards, added a few targets as well. So I think I'm encouraged with what I saw. It was a tough defense. He finally showed some explosiveness with a couple of runs, which is awesome to see. So I think we might be entering a little bit of a buy low window for Saquon Barkley. You have to adjust your expectations. He's not going to be the Barkley of old necessarily, at least not for the first part of the season as he's getting ramped up. But he should still be a solid running back as the year goes on. So, all right, let's roll into some of these questions now that people are joining. Also, one last takeaway from last night, Sterling Shepard with another 10 targets. I'm keeping an eye on him. I like him as a flex option as the season goes along. All right, Big Pun, what's up? Knock, knock, who's there? Owen who? Owen 2. Classic. All right, Jack, what's up, man? You thinking Rodgers going to bounce back with Adams? I do. Tough week in week 1 for the Packers. In week 2, they get the Lions on Monday Night Football. So if there's ever a week for them to bounce back, it's here. I'm starting Rodgers, Adams, Aaron Jones this week with a ton of confidence, expecting a lot of things from them. Now, if they come out in week 2 and disappoint against the Lions, then my red flag goes up and I start to get worried. But I think they're going to be great this week. Dream Chasers, what's good? Sammy Watkins, Chase Claypool, Tim Patrick, Marquez Callaway. 1 for the flex in a PPR 10-team league. I'm going with Chase Claypool there. I'm going with the talent and a solid matchup against the Vegas Raiders. I know he didn't do a ton last week. He made some good plays when he was given the opportunity, but it was a tough matchup. It was a gross game. So I think Claypool is the guy there out of those options this week. Do I think Jefferson bounces back? If this is Justin Jefferson, I do think so. They're playing the Arizona Cardinals this week, so they should be in a game script where they're throwing the ball. So I think Jefferson's going to be fine. Big Pun, what up? Good to see you. All right, BX Superman asks, Kirk Cousins or Trevor Lawrence? Both of these are tough. I mean, Lawrence is a fade for me this week just because of the tough matchup against the Denver Broncos. So my pick here is going to be Kirk Cousins. But after seeing what Arizona did to Tennessee last week, I'm not necessarily super optimistic about Cousins in his own right. But I think against Arizona, he should be fine. I think he can give you a streamer level performance between those two. All right. The questions are flowing now. Keep them coming. We'll go with Phil, the man himself. Also, Phil is, one of our OGs in our Discord. I have to plug that. The link is below. Free to join. We got a great community in there, and that's where Stef and I are just answering questions all day long. If it's, 2 a.m. and we're not doing a live stream like this and you have a flex question that's keeping you up at night, like pop it in the Discord. And the community is going to get back to you with input. 2, Steph and I are in there all the time answering questions as well. So I had to give it that plug. I'd love to see that thing pop off again through the weekend as we get into Sunday's games. But Phil asks, start 2, Laviska, T. Higgins, and Jacoby Myers. For me, T. Higgins is a definite start. I liked what I saw last week from him in Cincinnati. He did even leave the game for a while and still gave you a solid performance. So I know the Bears matchup doesn't feel ideal, but Stafford did just carve him up. I think T. Higgins should be fine this week. And for my second guy, I'm going Laviska Shenault. I know it is a tough matchup against Denver, and that definitely scares me, but he's a good floor play in my opinion. Jacoby Myers and the Pats play the New York Jets, so I think that could be a game where they really do rely on the ground game. Myers is the one in New England, which you love to see, but I'm going with Laviska. I've been all in on him all offseason, and even in a tough matchup, I think he can do enough to get it done if it's a PPR league. Chosen J Money, what's good? Shenault, another Shenault question. Javonte or Gaskin this week? That's a tough one. Gaskin against Buffalo, Shenault against Denver, and then Javonte on the other side in that game against Jacksonville. I would go, this is hard. This is a really hard one. I'm probably going to lean Gaskin here. I liked the workload he got last week. The Buffalo matchup isn't great, but I think he should do enough through the air to give him a floor in this game. I like Shenault and Javonte a lot this week as well. Shenault does have that tough matchup. Javonte with a great matchup, though, against Jacksonville. I think he and Melvin Gordon are going to see a ton of carries in this game. Both are strong starts for me, but I'm just going to lean Gaskin because I think his floor is higher. If it's a PPR league, if it's a non-PPR, I would go with Javonte Williams in that one. Jack, what are my takes on Cowboys versus Chargers? Well, thank you for asking. This is a game where I want just about every single piece that I can get. This is going to be a high-scoring game. The over-under is high. I think last time I checked, it was at 55 points. I'll vet that now. 55 points. The Chargers are 3.5-point favorites. I think this one's going to be a blast. Wheels up for Herbert, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, even Jared Cook is sneaky. And then for Dallas, you're starting Lamb, you're starting Zeke, you're starting Cooper, and you're starting Dak Prescott. So I think that's going to be a really fun game. And that leads me right into my next question from Mike. What's good, Mike? How do I feel about Jared Cook this week? If you were a late tight end drafter and you're just kind of streaming the position, Jared Cook's about as good as it gets. I mean, I loved what I saw from him in week 1. He was super involved. The pass volume was really high for the Chargers. Checking the numbers now, 8 targets for Jared Cook in week 1, 5 for 56. That's fantastic. So I think the targets could be there again in week 2. If he hits the touchdown, he's giving you a really, really solid week. So I'm comfortable starting Jared Cook this week. Big Pun with a nice question. A lot of guys in this question. Gaskin, Robbie, Corey Davis, TJ Hawkinson, Chalk, which I'm guessing is Chark, and Tyson Williams. He needs a flex. First of all, if TJ Hawkinson is your second tight end, you got to package him with one of these guys and upgrade for this flex spot. Like package 2 together, package Hawkinson and Gaskin, or package Hawkinson and one of the receivers like Corey Davis and upgrade and get you a guy that's a locked and loaded starter every week, like a Cooper Kupp type guy. That would be my advice moving forward. But for this week, let's see here. It's not Robbie. I'd probably go, Hawkinson, if it's a PPR league, I actually really like. The matchup's tough for Chark. Robbie only saw 3 targets last week, so I am a little bit concerned about him. It's between Corey Davis and TJ Hawkinson for me. I'm probably going to give the edge to Hawkinson in a PPR, Corey Davis in a non-PPR, but it's close. All right. Wow, we're getting a lot of questions. Don't worry. I'm going to get to all of them. I'll be on here. Last week, I think we went so long that my computer almost died, so I had to stop and get the charger midstream. So I'll go as long as I got to go to get to all these questions. All right, Dream Chasers. Also, what do y'all think about that in-season Hard Knocks that was announced last night? My Colts are the featured team, so I'm super hyped about that. I want to know what y'all think about that. Dream Chasers has got a running back question here. Singletary, James Conner, Tyson, Elijah Mitchell. Need 2 for a PPR 10 team. Well, you got some decent options here. For me, it all comes down to matchups. I like Elijah Mitchell's matchup against Philly. I think that's one of them for sure. He's not going to give you much in terms of PPR, but I think you can lock him in for some volume and touchdown upside. The other one's tough. I'm worried about Tyson because I know they're going to get all three running backs involved in Baltimore. James Conner actually saw really good volume last week. He's very interesting. And then Devin Singletary had a decent game in a tough matchup. And the Bills are going to get another tough matchup against Miami this week, but it's better than Pittsburgh. So in a PPR, I'd go Elijah Mitchell, and I'll give the slightest of edges to Devin Singletary there just because I like what I saw from him last week. If Zach Moss is inactive again. Now, if Zach Moss is active for this game, I'm probably taking Singletary down just slightly. And in that case, I might throw James Conner in for the touchdown upside. But assuming Moss is inactive, I'll go Elijah and Singletary. Mitch, what up, dude? The OG Mitch Maley's in the chat. Flex play, full point PPR. Elijah Mitchell, Antonio Brown, or Devontae Smith. Also considering MVS because Rodgers could shred the Lions. I think MVS is interesting in like the deepest of leagues. He did see a good target share last week, as Mitch actually pointed out to me. So shout out to you. But in this one, I mean, AB has a great matchup against Atlanta. Devontae Smith has the matchup against San Francisco. AB is like the ultimate boom bust play. I love what I saw from him last week, but in Tampa, one of those guys could be the odd man out like we saw in Mike Evans last week. So I'd go Devontae Smith. His target share was good last week, put up a good performance. So Smith is the pick for me there. Jack just loading the chat with questions. I love to see it. Also, have to plug the Discord again. It's in the link below. It's totally free to join. A good place to just chat, hang out with the Double Move community. I want to see that blowing up. I want to see at least 5 people joining that Discord by the end of this stream because it's an absolute blast in there, and it's where Stef and I are hanging out, answering questions all the time. But Jack asks, AB or Miles Sanders full PPR? Man, Miles Sanders plays San Francisco, AB against the Atlanta Falcons. I love what I saw from AB last week, but I'm going Sanders here. He saw a solid workload. He's going to get touches in this game. He's just the safer play, in my opinion, even in a tougher matchup against San Fran. So I'll go Sanders there. BX Superman back with another one. Chase Edmonds, Robbie, Tyler Boyd, Kenyon Drake, or Marvin Jones for the flex. Also, when you're asking these questions, try to throw in if it's like PPR, half PPR, or standard. That really helps because it does impact some of these start sits. In this one, if it's a PPR league, I'm going Chase Edmonds on that one. I like the usage he got last week. It was kind of exactly what we projected. 10 to 12 touches on the ground, 4 to 5 targets to the air. And in a PPR league, I think that volume is going to be enough to get it done. Flash Rider 22, welcome in. Lost Fuller this week. Yeah, Will Fuller's out due to personal reasons. So that was definitely a mid to late week surprise. So we got Darnell Mooney, Pittman, or Callaway in the flex. So all kind of deeper options on this one. It's deep. I'm trying to avoid Pittman this week against the Rams. Callaway is certainly interesting. I know he disappointed last week, but the volume was just so low. I think he does bounce back this week against the Panthers. But for some reason, I can't get over how much I like Darnell Mooney this week. He still saw a good target share last week. Didn't work out for him. It was a tough matchup. But this week against Cincinnati, I think Darnell Mooney is interesting, and he's someone I like. If he gets loose on a deep ball, maybe Dalton can connect with him for a touchdown. So if this is your flex in a PPR league, I'm fine to roll Mooney out there. A little bit of a boom bust option, but if he can get 6-7 targets, I think he can do enough to pop off a big play. Tony Montana, rolling through these questions. We got another flex question, full PPR, Chase Claypool, Christian Kirk, or James Robinson. I'm going to rule out Kirk now. He had a great week last week. Not going to take that away from him, but the volume just isn't as secure as the other two guys. James Robinson has a tough matchup against Denver, so I'm going to fade him a little bit this week as well. And I didn't really like how much Carlos Hyde was involved last week, so I'm going to go Chase Claypool here against Vegas in a PPR league. I think he has a little bit of a floor because he will be involved in the offense, but we know Chase Claypool and what he can do as far as his ceiling goes. So Claypool is going to be the pick for me between these three. Phil with a great question here. Defensive streams for week 2 and what to do and what to look at when figuring out who to stream. This is a great question. And some of my favorite options for this week, First, I'll talk about them, then I'll talk about what I look for. I like Denver this week. These are obvious. A lot of these are going to be rostered. Denver against Jacksonville, Cleveland against Houston. Those two are probably going to be rostered. I like New Orleans against Carolina. I like what I saw to them in week 1. And really what I'm looking for, and it's so obvious, but you want to look at the matchup, which teams have the lowest potential point output. I think even the Patriots against the Jets is a good one. So you want to go with defenses that are playing weaker opponents. But something that's overlooked and a sleeper defense for this week is Arizona against Minnesota, because you not only want a defense that's not going to give up a lot of points, you want a defense that's going to make plays. They're going to get sacks. They're going to force turnovers. And when I look at Arizona against Minnesota, Chandler Jones had 5 sacks last week. They're going to be getting after the quarterback. They got J.J. Watt there, Isaiah Simmons. They got playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. So I think they can get after Kirk Cousins, create some points in that DST spot, maybe force some turnovers as well, because a lot of the touchdowns are anomalous with these defenses. So you really just want to look for ones that are going against weak offenses that aren't going to put up points and ones that can actually make plays and force turnovers. Great question, though. All right, let's move down this list. Clap nuts. All right, what's up? What's up, Clap? Mr. Clap. You were offered Ayuk for James Robinson. I want James Robinson there. Ayuk's a little scary right now. I think he'll end up being fine at some point this season, but until I see it, I can't trust him. So I'll go with the running back. I'll go with J-Rob. Let's see, Qui-Gon Jinn, Julio, or Kupp. I'm going Cooper Kupp. He had a fantastic week 1. And then you look at the matchup this week. I'm a Colts fan, and I like the defense, but they got absolutely torched by Russell Wilson in week 1 through the air. So the Rams in that passing game we saw on Sunday Night Football last week should be fine. I'm going Cooper Kupp. But I think Julio against Seattle is a good play. If I have Julio, I'm definitely trying to get him in my lineup. But between those two, I'm going with Cooper Kupp. All right, Andy, what's good? How do I feel about Kenyon Drake if Josh Jacobs can't go? I think he's a high floor play in a PPR league. I think he's we'll call it like a Devin Singletary plus. That's kind of the tier that I would start Drake over if Jacobs is out. They do play Pittsburgh, tough matchup, but he should get enough work on the ground and through the air to give you a baseline in PPR leagues if Jacobs isn't out there. Phil Fields plays second half. I hope so. I'm ready for the Justin Fields experience. We'll see. Do you think Miles is more safe than AB? I do, just because of the volume I expect him to get in this offense. AB had a fantastic week 1, and I think there's a chance against Atlanta AB could come out and boom again. But if you look at Sanders last week, 15 carries on the ground, added another 5 targets through the air. As long as that kind of workload is keeping up, there's no reason to fade Miles Sanders. Michael Brantley, what's up? Flex question. Claypool's a hot name this week. Everyone's asking about Claypool. Claypool, Brandon Cooks, or Mitchell full PPR? I feel like I picked Claypool in a lot of scenarios last week and it didn't pay off. So it all depends on what you want. A ceiling or a floor. I think Mitchell is interesting, but even in San Francisco, I would rather wait one more week with Mitchell to just confirm that backfield's not going to get shaken up any further. I think he's a fine RB2 play if you've got him, but if I have an option like a Chase Claypool against the Vegas Raiders, that's the option I'm going with. So Claypool's the pick for me. All right, we'll keep it rolling. Josh Schimmel, what's good? Full PPR pick 2. Wow, is your team stacked or something? Lockett, Carson, and Lamb. CD's a must start. That's going to be a fun game. So CD for sure. And then the 2 Seattle guys, Carson and Lockett. I'm going with Tyler Lockett. I'm going with the boom play. Love what I saw from him in week 1. It's a PPR league as well, so I expect him to do more with his reception total. So Lamb and Lockett are the picks for me. All right, Clap. Clap is back. He scooped Tim Patrick and KJ Hamler on the bench. Good move. I don't necessarily think there's a need to have both. Both are spot starters in deeper leagues for the next couple weeks while Jerry Jeudy's out. We're still a little unsure on when exactly he's going to be back. So I think both in their own right have a reason to be rostered, but I'd probably just pick one or the other. And if you end up getting in a pinch, you're never going to want to start both. So I think they're worth being rostered, but I don't think you need both. I'd probably go ahead and drop Hamler and hold on to Patrick. What's up, Joe Lee? Offered Barkley and Justin Jefferson for, I'm guessing, Darrell Henderson and Terry McLaurin. All right, well, let's think about this. So I would rather have Jefferson than Terry. That's pretty close. I'd probably lean the Barkley side. I liked what I saw from Darrell Henderson week 1, but I think Barkley has more upside than Henderson. So we're entering that buy low range for Barkley. I'd probably take that side, but it's just up to your risk tolerance. Like Henderson and Terry are going to be fine for your team. We saw what Terry McLaurin can do last night. Henderson is a solid RB2 with the workload he's going to get for the Rams. So no reason to let go of that if you don't need to. But if you want some upside, I think Barkley and Jefferson definitely offer you more upside. And if you're in a tough competitive league or you know you're going to have to make big moves to win, I don't mind taking that trade at all. It all comes down to what you believe about Saquon. But I do like the Barkley J-Jet side there just by a hair. All right. Your matchup is starting Cousins over Rodgers. See, that's why you don't overreact to week 1 because you end up doing stuff like this. That's ridiculous. And hopefully he keeps Cousins over Rodgers. Josh Schimmel back with another question. Appreciate it. AJ Brown or Lockett at the flex. Okay, 8-person league, so your team is stacked. Wow, and they're playing each other. So it's Titans and Seattle going head-to-head. That's so tricky. I mean, you're splitting hairs at this point. I'll probably take AJ Brown. I just think he's a better athlete, and he is the 1A, where I feel like Lockett's the 1B. I like both, but I'll go Brown. But I mean, who knows, man? It's a toss-up to me. But I'll lean AJ. Clap, honestly waiting to see who's going to get targeted and dropped, who you think is going to get the least amount of looks. Okay, between Tim Patrick and KJ Hamler. Yeah, not a bad idea. Maybe hold on to him for a week, see how things shake out in a good matchup against Jacksonville, and then hang on to the guy that ends up doing more. So I don't mind that strategy one bit. Also, while I got a chance, join that Discord in the link below if you're not already in there. It's an absolute blast. Free to join in there, answering trade questions, start sit questions, everything all day long. I'm going to keep plugging that throughout the stream because that's really where we're able to grow our Double Move Sports community, and it's fun. And you don't have to catch me on a live stream. You can go in there and ask questions at any time. So again, free to join. Should be in the link. If not, it will be when we're done. But I want to see that thing blowing up. I want to see people join and getting those numbers up. All right. Bach. I don't want to try to pronounce this because I'm going to mess it up. Gaskin versus Buffalo or Javonte versus Jacksonville. Is this PPR or non-PPR? Because that makes a difference for me. If it's full PPR, I'm leaning Gaskin. I think he adds that floor even in a tough matchup. But I do love Javonte this week. If it's a half PPR or a standard, I'm going Javonte. These two are very, very close for me. Half PPR, okay. I'll go Javonte. Gaskin in a PPR, I think, can give you the floor you need with that full point per reception. But in a half, I think Javonte is going to have a good game. I think Melvin Gordon and Javonte are starts in this one. Jacksonville looked terrible last week. I expect Denver to win this game. If they get up in the score, I think they're going to be running the ball a lot. So I'll go Javonte. And he had a good workload in week 1 as well. So I really like what I saw from him. Phil asks, will Sermon play on Sunday? I'm guessing yes. I think he'll be active for the game. The question is, how much work is he going to get? I mean, if we look at week 1, when Elijah Mitchell took over, I mean, he really took over. If you look at the touch breakdown for San Fran, Mitchell, 19 carries, JaMychal Hasty, 1 carry, 1 target. He ended up coming down with a touchdown. But yeah, I think Trey Sermon's active for the game. I don't know if he's going to make much of an impact, though. David, what's up? David Gerber, welcome to the chat. Full PPR, play Godwin and AB in the flex, or Godwin and Chark in the flex. I'll go Godwin AB. It's a great matchup. I like both of them independently this week. It would have worked out for you really well last week. I will say, kind of like my mantra with the Tampa Bay wide receivers and with Gronk in the mix is like most weeks, 2 or more of them are going to be good in fantasy, and one guy might get left out. Last week, it was Mike Evans. So if you're playing Godwin and AB, I get the concern. But in a good matchup, I'm just going to roll both of them out there because for Chark this week, against Denver, I'm not super, super blown away by his outlook in that matchup. So I'm going to go ahead and play Godwin and AB if I'm you. All right, BX Superman back with another one. PPR flex, Corey Davis, Chase Claypool, Marvin Jones. Marvin, same matchup as DJ Chark against Denver, so I'm going to fade him a little bit this week. Corey Davis and Claypool are interesting. Claypool against the Raiders. I do think the Steelers are going to have a good game, but it's kind of that same situation as Tampa. It's like they got Najee, Claypool, Deontay, Juju. How many points can they score in this game, and can all of them have a good game at the same time? That's where I'm unsure, but I am betting on Chase Claypool to have a good game this week. So I'm going to give it to Claypool just by a nose. I like what I saw from Corey Davis last week, but against a tough New England defense, Zach Wilson didn't look great last week. He showed some flashes, but he just looked okay to me. So I'm going to go Chase Claypool there. Ingram cooked Jacksonville last week. Yeah, Mark Ingram had himself a game. All right, Josh, full PPR, Higgins or Jacoby Myers at the flex. I'll go T. Higgins. T. Higgins is a lock-it-in guy for me until further notice. I mean, he left the game in week 1. I think it was like to get an IV or something like that, but he still posted 4 for 58 and a touchdown. So I expect Burrow to throw the ball more than 27 times this week. That was a bit low for him. So I'll rock with T. Gaming with Gio. What up, man? All right, Luke. Calabria. Cole Beasley, LaVisca Chenault, Latavius Murray, Mecole Hardman, flex, half PPR. I'm going Visca there. Mecole Hardman, can you really ever start Mecole? He's so scary. Oh, pick 2. Okay, so this is easy then. I'm going Cole Beasley, LaVisca Chenault. It's tough because you're getting 2 like floor plays here. LaVisca, tough matchup, more of a PPR guy. Cole Beasley saw a great target share last week. So you should get a really solid floor in a half PPR league, and hopefully you have some upside elsewhere in your lineup. But I think Beasley and Chenault are the easy picks for me there. All right. We got a paragraph to read. Thanks for the question, though, Gaming. I don't mind it. I got time. In your PPR 1 quarterback home league, someone is trying to trade you Waddle and Javonte for Darrell Henderson. This makes sense to me if we see Henderson losing snap share as the season goes on. My question for you, you're good, Gio. My question for you is, do you need a wide receiver? Because if you are in a deeper league and like Waddle is someone that you would be flexing every now and then by all means, I think it could be worth it. Javonte is someone I'm excited about, and I think he's going to get ramped up. I think as the season goes on, he and Darrell Henderson are going to get closer and closer together in value. But if, Jalen Waddle is going to be your 6th wide receiver, then I don't see any reason to do this deal right now, and I'd probably roll with Darrell Henderson. So I'd probably lean with the Henderson side unless Waddle's going to be in a flex spot, and you really need a wide receiver. All right. Josh, you must be in a ton of leagues. I mean, I love the questions. I love that you got so many questions. Some of these leagues can be tricky though, but you got to be in a lot of leagues with all these questions. I love it. Start 2 full PPR. Anderson, Higgins, Corey Davis, Marvin Jones, and Aguilar. Yeah, 4 leagues. I mean, that's a good amount of leagues. It's not too many. So T. Higgins, as I've hit on a lot, I think is a must start this week. He's just a lock-it-in guy for me moving forward as a wide receiver too. Now the other guys, I'm going Corey Davis. Marvin Jones has a tough matchup against Denver. Robbie Anderson only saw 3 targets last week, saved himself with the deep touchdown. And Aguilar is the wide receiver 2 on the Patriots behind Jacoby Myers. The tight ends are super involved. I know he had the touchdown last week, but I'm not counting on that again. So I will go with T. Higgins and Corey Davis of those options. Scar 17S, what's good? Jamal Williams or Tyson Williams, full PPR. Oh, man. The battle of the Williams. Man, you put me on the spot here. Tyson scares me a little bit because, and last week was a perfect example. And Tyson came out of that game with a good fantasy performance, but this was the exact reason that he scares me. Like, he had 9 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown. I know he added some receiving work as well, but he had the 35-yard touchdown run. And to me, Tyson Williams is touchdown or bust, because I don't think Tyson's getting 4 targets a week, especially now that Devontae Freeman's on the active roster. And 9 for 65 and a touchdown with some receiving is great. But like, if he does not get that 35-yard touchdown run where the Red Sea was parted in the O-line, Tyson Williams has like an 8-point performance. And I know he did do it and he is going to make plays, but Tyson to me is just touchdown or bust. So in a full PPR, I'm going with Jamal Williams. I like what I saw from him last week. They were trailing for all of that game. Jamal had 9 carries and 9 targets. This Detroit team, I think, is really going to work the running backs and the receivers in the passing game. So in a game against Green Bay where I do think they'll be trailing, I think Jamal Williams is going to see enough targets to give you some value in a full PPR league. So I'm actually going to go with Jamal there. In the battle of the Williams, Scar 17S, AB or Mike Evans flex. I'm going Mike Evans. I know he disappointed week 1, but I do think he is I do think he's due for a good game. I think I'll have a good game against Atlanta. I think Evans scores a touchdown this week. David Gerber, Cardinals D or Saints D? Who scores more? Look, I am like notorious for being anti-defense. My big home league, we've had a defense since it started like close to 10 years ago. And every year at the draft, I'm the one pitching to take defense out of the league. So I am like known for saying that defense is so anomalous that it's really hard to predict on a week in and week out basis. And I honestly think the Cardinals D and the Saints D are both great matchups this week. The Cardinals play Minnesota, and I do think Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt, some of those playmakers are going to be able to get it done. I also like what I saw from New Orleans, obviously last week against Green Bay. And they have a good matchup this week against Carolina. So to me, I think you can play either one, and you can expect big things. You can expect sacks, maybe a couple of turnovers. And it honestly might come down to which one scores a touchdown. So just so you know, I had the option between these two on waivers. I picked up the Cardinals D, but it's a dice roll. But I do like both. All right, to circle back with gaming with Gio, sticking with Henderson for now. I like it. I like it. And I appreciate you, Gio. Appreciate you. All right. Oh, wow. Luke with a big-time trade. Not messing around with moves like this. Traded Montgomery, Higgins, Callaway, Stevenson for Jefferson, Beasley, Michelle, Latavius Murray. I think I would rather have the Montgomery Higgins side. Michelle, Beasley, Latavius are kind of meh for me. Stevenson, Callaway, we'll see. Those are all kind of just like deeper names. So to me, this is like Montgomery Higgins for Justin Jefferson. And I think I'd rather have the Montgomery Higgins side in that situation. But, you know, I don't think it'll kill you. It looks like you have some upside on your team. The Mahomes-Kelsey stack is always nice. Hopefully Ayuk can figure it out. But yeah, I'll take Montgomery Higgins side there. Let's go, David. Just had Graham Gano score 23. Oh, gosh. I thought you said for me. This is tough. Just said Graham Gano score 23 on you, so you need all the points you can get. Look, I just gave my whole defense spiel. One of two things. Either get kickers out of your league or nerf the points for kickers. One thing my home league did a couple of years ago for this exact reason, like having a kicker score 23, is we just nerfed the points. So previously, a 50-yard field goaler up was like 5 points, 40 to 49 was 4 points, 39 and under was 3 points. We basically took everything and just took it down 1. So now a 50-plus yard is worth 4, 30 to 39 is worth, or 40 to 49 is worth 3, 39 and under is worth 2, extra points are worth 1, and it takes away some of that variance at the kicker spot. You can still get an advantage over your opponent, but a 23-point game might only be a 16-point game. Still a big kicker game, but it doesn't hurt you quite as much. The second take extra. Shout out to Carmelo in your picture. Legend. J-Rob or Javonte Williams? Rojo, James White. Rank the 4 and start 1. I feel like I'm back in school and I got a homework assignment. I will go Okay, in a PPR, I'll go Javonte at the top. I love his matchup against Jacksonville. J-Rob is second. James White is third, and Rojo is fourth on the list for me. So of that group, I'm starting Javonte this week. Rolling the dice a little bit and going with the rookie. I just love the matchup he's got. Rojo, I think, is going to bounce back long term. Like, don't drop him to waivers. Just keep him stashed on your bench. I think he could come out against Atlanta and have a big game, but I'm not starting him after what happened last week. Deluxe Krang plays Joe Mixon or Najee Harris. Joe Mixon right now, you ride the hot hand. I mean, I'm talking about my home league a lot. It's a big one. Shout out to Sunday's Finest out there. That's the name of my league. But I drafted Najee over Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon was one of my fantasy MVPs on the season, though, so I like him a lot. He had the explosion game last week. Najee disappointed. I do like Najee's matchup, but I'll stick with Mixon in the volume he saw, even against a tough Chicago defense. But Chicago did just get, exposed a little bit by the Rams last week. So we'll see what Cincinnati can do. So I'll lean Mixon, but ideally, like, in what world are you not starting Mixon and Najee Harris? Clap. Trade LaVisca for Ayuk. It's funny. One of my good friends just texted me this exact question in a league we're in together. So if you are his burner account, I'm going to tell you what I told him. And I'm going to say keep LaVisca for now. BX Superman, what's good? Back with another question. Appreciate you hanging out. Standard wide receiver. A-Rob, Robbie, Tyler Boyd, Marvin Jones, Allen Robinson. He saw a lot of targets last week. He has a great matchup this week against Cincy. A-Rob's the pick. He's still an every week start right now for me. Gordon or Callaway PPR. I'm guessing that's Melvin Gordon. I guess that's the only Gordon out there right now. I'm going Melvin. I love the matchup against Jacksonville. For me, he and Javonte are guys that I'm trying to start this week if I can. Oh, let's go. Rendon Die. What's good? Would I trade Melvin Gordon for Elijah Mitchell? I would not. I like Elijah Mitchell's upside. He could be the guy in San Francisco, but we don't really know. He doesn't add a lot in the receiving game at this point. So I would stick with Melvin Gordon for now. I do think Mitchell has more upside if he hits, but Gordon should be a solid running back 2, running back 3 type of name that gets work in the receiving game as well. So I'll stick with Gordon there for now. SS Austin, what's good? Coming to say it's DeAndre Swift season. Let's go. I agree. I was a little worried to start last week with Jamal Williams' workload, but Swift, man, 11 carries, 11 targets. He is going to see so much receiving work. It is Swift season. Let's get it. Oh, I see. This is back to the Mixon versus Najee question. Offered Mixon and Drake for Najee, but Najee had 100% of snaps, so I think you're obsessed. Yeah, it comes down to preference. Like, Drake isn't going to move the needle for me, so you're right. This is essentially a Mixon versus Najee question. And I did just say in my big home league that's been running for a long time, super competitive, this was my choice. Keeper league, some other things involved, but like I had a first-round choice of Mixon or Najee. I went with Najee, partially regretting it after week 1, but I do think Najee can continue to be a stud running back for the rest of the season, 100% of snaps. I think he's going to be fine. So I'm not bailing at all. And yeah, let's stick to our guns here and stick with the Najee side if you believe in him, because I definitely do. When is Williams getting the keys in Denver? I'm afraid it might not happen for a while. I mean, Melvin Gordon still played fine. I know the 70-yard breakaway run was it really inflated his stats, but I think Gordon's going to be involved all season. Contract year. They're actually going to be competitive, I think. They're in a tough division, but they're going to be competitive in games. So I think Javonte might get to like 60% to Gordon's 40. Right now, I think it's 60-40 Melvin. But week 1, the touches were actually pretty similar. So I think it could just be a split all year. But as the season goes on, I wouldn't be surprised to see Javonte get a little more involved. Also, while we got a good crew here right now, a lot of you are in there already. I'm going to keep plugging it. Join that Discord in the link below. Totally free. Just allows you to chat with Stef, chat with myself, chat with everybody else in the community, ask your questions all throughout the week, all throughout the weekend. We're getting back and answering you in there as well. So join that Discord if you haven't done it. But we will keep rolling through these questions. Got about 20 more minutes. Going to hang on until 3 o'clock Eastern time. Who starts first, Fields or Lance? It's got to be Fields, right? I mean, the 49ers are actually decent, and I expect them to win again this week against Philly. So as long as they're winning and Jimmy G isn't total trash, I think he's going to keep starting. And Chicago, man, it could be Fields very, very soon. Qui-Gon Jinn, man, RIP to a legend, Qui-Gon. Are there cheap running backs you can buy into? I would like a player who can be RB2 while Barkley eases back into things, deep at wide receiver. Yeah, I think if you're deep at wide receiver and you need a running back too, then and you want to trade away Julio, you want to trade away Waddle, there's definitely a lot of options. I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head. I mean, I don't know that they're going to be cheap right now, but I think Kareem Hunt is a perfect name. Chase Edmonds, Myles Gaskin, some of these PPR backs that aren't bell cows, but they can just get plugged in. They have hit weeks because their PPR upside, but they also give you a floor because they catch passes. So those are the kinds of names I'd be thinking about. I think Damian Harris is a great buy low right now. Love the workload he got in week 1. They have a great matchup against the Jets in week 2. This might be the Damian Harris breakout week. Wouldn't be surprised to see him have a massive game. So if you need that RB2, get Harris now because it might be too late if you're asking at this time next week. So I'd say Damian Harris would be my number 1 target, especially because he didn't have a crazy good week in week 1. He was fine, but he didn't do anything nuts. But some of those other PPR names are definitely interesting. Zeke and Devontae Smith gave up Barkley and Jamar Chase. It's a good trade. I mean, I think Zeke takes some risk out. Barkley is a little bit more risky, even though Zeke had a bad game in week 1. And then Chase and Smith are close. I like both. I think both showed a lot in week 1. So, yeah, I think it's a fair trade. It de-risks your team a little bit. So I don't mind it one bit. All right, let's see. Brandon Cooks and Josh Jacobs for Mike Evans, trying to buy low. Thoughts? Yeah, I'm down. I'll do. Well, it depends on your running back depth. I mean, Josh Jacobs is a little banged up right now. He is a touchdown dependent guy, but he's locked into his role. If Cooks is like your wide receiver 5, then it's not going to hurt you too much. And I think Mike Evans is going to bounce back. He's showed us time and time again throughout his career. He can be a little inconsistent at times, but on the season, he's going to come through. So, yeah, I like that trade. I like that trade a lot. All right, we're rolling. We are rolling. Josh, Tannehill, Teddy, Tyrod, Goff, 14-person league. Yeah, I'd stick with Tannehill. I actually I'm not starting Tyrod ever. I like Teddy's matchup this week against Jacksonville. I like Goff as a desperation play against the Packers. I thought he looked okay in week 1, but yeah, I'd roll with Tannehill against Seattle. Rendon, back with more questions. Start 2, sit 1, Jamar Chase, Chase Edmonds, and Robert Woods. Woods is an auto start for me right now. He's locked in as a wide receiver 2. And I'll go with, let's see, Arizona plays Minnesota. I'll go with Jamar Chase. I'll leave him out there. I think that big play potential that he brings to the table is something I want in my lineup. So I'll go Woods, Chase. And am I concerned about Swift's injury from yesterday? Not right now. We'll see what the practice reports say as we get into the weekend. But if it's tough. They do have the Monday night game. Hopefully we get more clarity on his injury by Monday night. But if Swift's active, I'm playing him. I mean, there were concerns about him going into last week, and he was fantastic. So if he's out there, he's going to give you a receiving workload, which is awesome. So I'm not worried about Swift at all right now. Unless, of course, he ends up missing the game. Raiders 1 for life. What's up? Glad you're here. How nervous am I about Antonio Gibson? I'm a little nervous. I'm not nervous about his value like on the season. I think he's going to be a guy you're wanting to start every single week because he is a starting running back in the NFL that's very talented. I'm worried about the receiving workload that's going to McKissick. I'm worried about the upside a little bit, but I think he'll still have his weeks. When he gets into the end zone, he'll be fine. So I'm not super worried right now. I think the upside is the concern, but I'm still locking him in every single week. SS Austin, appreciate all the questions. How do we feel about Saquon? Do we think he'll get more receiving work? Yeah, I'm in on Saquon still. I'm a little surprised at how slow he started. It's all down to his health though, and I'm no doctor, but I like what I saw last night. Tough fantasy performance, but he got more snaps. He got more touches. He looked more explosive, made more big plays. So I think you're entering a buy low window for Saquon. I think a lot of people that drafted him had him for a week. They're disappointed. And at least what I do, it's like, okay, let's see what happens week 2. Now there's 2 weeks of disappointment. So people start to get a little worried. So next week, I'd be looking to pick up Saquon if I can. I'm just taking that gamble. I'm not playing to get third in my league. I'm playing to win. So if I can pick up Saquon on the cheap next week, I'm definitely willing to do it. James White or Mitchell in PPR. I'll go Elijah Mitchell there. I think he should see the vast share the workload this week. So even in a PPR league, I'll go Elijah. Pats or Browns defense for week 2. Pats play the Jets. Browns play Houston. This might shock some people. I think the Jets are going to score more points, but I also think the Jets might turn the ball over and give the Pats a better chance at like a pick 6 or a fumble for a touchdown. I think Zach Wilson's going to be a little more careless with the ball than Tyrod. So I'm actually going to lean with the Pats in this one. Both are fantastic, though. And again, with defenses, it's a toss-up at the end of the day. It's a toss-up. Millie C, what's good? Half PPR. Should you drop Damian Williams for David Johnson? You have David Montgomery. You can. The thing is, like, does David Johnson really give you a lot of upside? Are you ever going to start him? How deep is your league? If you think David Johnson, someone you could end up plugging into your lineup at some point, do it. Pick him up. But, I mean, if he's going to be your, like, 5th running back, just a depth piece, you might as well hold on to Damian for now. I don't think David Johnson's someone you have to roster. But in a deeper league, I don't mind it one bit. I'm not big on handcuffing my own guys. But David Johnson's not someone that gets me super excited, and I don't see the upside with David Johnson. Slim Reaper, what up? Gaskin, Jamal, Tyson, and Sermon start 2. If this is PPR, it makes it easy. Well, first of all, I'm not starting Trey Sermon. I got to see him out there on the field, not as the 3rd guy in the depth chart before I start him. So he's out. Gaskin, I'm starting, especially in a PPR league. And then it's down to Jamal and Tyson. And we had the battle of the Williams a little while ago, and I picked Jamal in a PPR. So I'll go Gaskin and Jamal Williams there. All right, Phil, with a Dynasty question. Let's go. Getting the Dynasty players in here. What is Taylor Heineke worth in Superflex? That's tough. I mean, I think he should be locked in as the starter, right, for the vast majority of the season. I think even if Fitzpatrick comes back and Heineke's playing great, he'll stay in. So if you're looking to trade him to a win-now team that needs a quarterback or a 3rd quarterback on their roster in a Superflex, maybe a 2nd. I think you can probably move him for a 2nd-round pick. The thing with Heineke, I think he's going to be in that Gardner Minshew tier of like probably a career backup. Will find himself in starting situations from time to time, but he's not going to – I don't see him really winning the job. Like when the Washington football team season is over, do I think they're going to go into next season and not draft anybody with high draft capital or sign anybody in free agency because of Taylor Heineke? Right now, I think they're probably going to readdress the quarterback situation. So I'm just not a believer. I think he looked great last night. But I'd probably move him for a 2nd. I think a 2nd-round pick is pretty fair. You think Jacobs plays Sunday? I hope so. I mean, he looked hobbled last week, and he still pulled it out with 2 tutties. So I hope he plays. Tough matchup, though. So if I can fade him, I'm probably going to. Slim Reaper. So now, instead of Gaskin, Jamal, Tyson, Sermon, we got Gaskin, Jamal, Tyson, Gainwell. PPR, same answer. Myles Gaskin, Jamal Williams. T. Chris, 0123. What's up? CEH, Miles Sanders, Zeke, Eckler. Dude, how did you do this? How did you get this many good running backs? I got to know if it's PPR, you're starting Eckler for sure, even though he got no catches last week, which was weird. So Eckler's in there. And I mean, honestly, probably regardless, I'm going Zeke and Eckler. Nick McAtee, thanks for hanging out. PPR flex, pick one. Pittman, Drake, Tim Patrick, or Gainwell. PPR flex. I don't think I trust Gainwell enough yet. They were up by so much last week. I don't know how much that contributed to his touches. I like Gainwell. Love him as a bench stash. Drake, I think my pick would be Drake, ironically, if Josh Jacobs doesn't play. But I do think Josh Jacobs will play. Pittman, I'm worried about on the Colts. Not worried. I just want to see it before I roll him out there. I'm going Tim Patrick. Give me Tim Patrick against Jacksonville and just hope he gets in the end zone. I think Patrick should be fine. Dang, I got to catch up on these questions. I said I'd get to all of them. I got about 10 minutes left to hang out. Also, if I don't get to your question for some reason, join the Discord in the link below. Put it in the chat. I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to any questions you have all week throughout the weekend. The community's great. Got to keep plugging that as we go here. But Zona's defense for real sure looks like it. I'm starting them this week against Minnesota. So I hope they can keep getting those sacks, keep forcing fumbles, getting those big plays, because that's what you want with the defense. Guys that make plays. All right, Christopher Rangel asking if Derek Carr, Big Ben, and Superflex. Many times. Thank you for the question, Christopher. I'll go Big Ben against Vegas. I just like the matchup. I guess they're playing each other. I like the matchup for Big Ben. Even Josh Allen struggled a little bit against Pittsburgh last week. Carr looked great in that game in the second half, at least. I think Carr is always underrated, but I'll go Big Ben. I'm just not quite as afraid of the Raiders defense, even though that pass rush looks good against Baltimore. But yeah, I'll go Big Ben. Josh, D. Adams, and Edmonds for Monty and Cooper. Worth getting a top player like Adams. This is close. I like Montgomery as a bell cow back. I like Amari Cooper. I'm very high on Amari Cooper. I'm probably sticking with the Cooper side there. Slim Reaper didn't mean to post it twice. All good, man. Technically the second question was different because you had Gainwell in there instead of Sermon. So, hey, for all I know, could have been a different one. Okay. Yeah, this is that same question from earlier from Chris. CH, Sanders, Zeke, Eckler, PPR. So it is PPR. So I'm going Eckler and Zeke there. Phil, in our DMS Dynasty League, that's another perk of the Discord. We're starting up leagues in there. I know right now we're in season, but when we get to the offseason, if you play Dynasty or you've never played before and you want to join a Dynasty League, we're going to be starting up more Dynasty Leagues in there. A lot of guys in the community are in a league with Stef and I. We're going to be joining more in the future, and it just provides a great opportunity to get in good leagues with good players. So I am playing Stef, my co-host this week. He had Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson last night. I had Kenny Galladay. Didn't go so well for me, but the rest of my team is pretty good. So I'm still feeling confident. But if Steph's going to pull the upset this week, at least I consider it an upset. He probably doesn't think so. He's off to a great start. I'll tell him that. He's got a good shot, and he's got me a little nervous. Christian, Ailey, what is up? Thanks for hanging out. Pick one for flex, full PPR. Julio, Debo, and Jamar Chase. So, wow, this is tough. Why you got to do this to me live? Debo plays Philly. Jamar Chase plays Chicago. Julio plays Seattle. I wasn't very inspired by Julio's performance last week. I know the offense struggled. Jamar Chase looked good. I'm actually going to go Jamar Chase. I'll roll the dice and go with Jamar Chase there. Love the big play ability that he brings to this offense. The matchup doesn't feel great against Chicago in week 2, but Chase saw 7 targets last week. I'm going to go with Chase and hope he pops that big play again with Joe Burrow. And keep the questions coming. I got some catching up to do here. Slim Reaper, Pitts or pivot to a Blake Jarwin or Troutman. Yeah, thanks for the support on the show. Also, if you're checking us out, watching, like and subscribe to, or like the video, subscribe to the channel, helps us out a ton. Love to keep hanging out. We got live streams. Been trying to hit them every week. We got them Sunday morning as well, right before matchups are kicking off. Last time during the live stream, we got the Trey Sermon scratch, the Zach Moss scratch. So there's stuff that's going to happen, and we're going to have to hit it. So subscribe, follow along with us, join the Discord, do all that good stuff. Helps out the show a lot. Helps us, be able to keep doing stuff like this. But you got to go Pitts. Don't pivot off of Pitts for one of these guys. I think Pitts will be all right. Ooh, Don Juan. See, this is the type of questions where it gets good. Mecole Hardman or Bryan Edwards, standard flex spot. Like when we get to these deep names, it gets tough. Man, this is tough too, because last week it was like Waller was a target magnet. Edwards was quiet for most of the game, saw the 5 late targets. Might have had 1 in the first half, but they play Pittsburgh this week. Not an easy matchup. And then Mecole Hardman, it's like you can never guess when he's going to pop a deep touchdown. And if he doesn't have the long touchdown, he's pretty much useless. So I'm going Bryan Edwards. He was one of my favorite sleepers heading into the year. Did enough in week 1 to where I'm thinking, okay, if he gets 6 targets in this game, he could get it done for you in a standard league. Another deep question, man. We're grinding here. We're out here grinding, and it's week 2. From Mike Farley. What's up, Mike? Thanks for the question. Ronald Jones, Mark Ingram, or Trey Sermon? Oh, this brings tears to my eyes. Man, I'm not starting Trey Sermon. I'll tell you that. I'm willing to get burned by Trey Sermon having a good game and me not having him in my lineup. I'm more willing to do that than I am to plug him in and watch him be active and have 3 carries for 7 yards. Mark Ingram's going to get some carries, but he faces a stout Browns run D. I don't expect him to be very efficient with those carries. Don't think he's getting in the end zone this week. The reason he saw so many carries last week is because they were up the whole game. This hurts, but I think I'd go Rojo. This might be the first question all week where I've actually picked Rojo because Rojo's volatile. We saw it last week. He fumbles. He comes out for the rest of the game, finishes with literally negative fantasy points. That's the risk you run. But against Atlanta, it is a good matchup. So if he just cannot do anything stupid to get himself in the doghouse, Rojo could have a fine game. It hurts to say, but I guess I'm going Rojo there. Gainwell doesn't look good to Master Samurai. I thought he looked all right. I liked him as a prospect. Was surprised to see him fall to the 5th round. But I thought he looked all right. We'll see as the number 2. Hashtag Manscaped from Phil. Shout out to Phil. I mean, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But if you want to support the show, working through a sponsorship deal with Manscaped, if you do get the Lawnmower 4.0, all you got to do is use code DMS and you get 20% off of your order. So if you really want to support the show, check out Manscaped. Their products are actually fantastic. I was skeptical, and it was, fantastic product. I've had a lot of good feedback from people that have gotten them as well. So if you want to support the show, code DMS for 20% off. Shout out to Phil, though, for that plug. Cameron, Elijah Mitchell or Jamar Chase in the flex? I'm going Jamar Chase. Loved what I saw from him week 1. I liked the 7 targets. I liked Elijah Mitchell too, but with San Francisco, there is some question marks with that backfield. So I'm still going Jamar Chase there. Would I rather from, I guess this is Al Ba. Hello, Al. Would I rather pick up Rager or Mooney? Give me Darnell Mooney. I got this weird feeling that Mooney's going to have a good game this week. I've been talking about it for a while. In the Discord, too, we brought up Mooney a couple of times. But I have a weird feeling against Cincinnati, Mooney's going to pop a big one this week. Dylan Horn. What up, Dylan? Thanks for joining the party. Need a wide receiver 2 and a flex play in PPR. Okay, so 2 of these guys. Kirk, Robbie, Fournette, or Rojo, Aguilar, Hollywood, and Tyson Williams. Okay, so wide receiver 2, I'd go ahead and lock in. If Hollywood's active, keep an eye on him. He's been out of practice. If he practices today, I don't have the report up in front of me. I'm going Hollywood in a matchup where they should be throwing the ball against Kansas City. He looked all right. So that would be my pick for the wide receiver 2 spot. And then my flex would probably be Robbie Anderson. The 3 targets last week does scare me, but I think he's going to bounce back against New Orleans. I think they might have to throw the ball to the receivers a little bit more, push it downfield. So I'll go Robbie and Brown, and it helps that it's a PPR. Oh, yeah, we already hit on this one. Rojo, Ingram, Sermon, half PPR. Yeah, going Rojo there, unfortunately. Glenn, PPR, Jared Cook or Robert Tonyan? Man, this is a juicy question. I love Cook this week. Have him in a lot of DFS lineups. I'm going Cook here. I mean, he saw 8 targets in week 1 against the stingy Washington defense. Against Dallas, I think there's going to be a lot of pass volume in this game. I'm rolling with Jared Cook, man. A Tonyan, even last year, was touchdown or bust all season. He saw like 59 targets and ended with double-digit touchdowns. So if you think Tonyan's going to score on Monday night, he's probably going to end up with more fantasy points than Jared Cook. But I'm going with Cook for the floor. I mean, Cook should be, I don't want to say a lock because it's Jared Cook, but I like his odds of getting at least 10 points this week. And if he gets a touchdown, you're feeling really good. All right. only got a couple more minutes. I'm going to try to fly through these. And if I don't hit on your question in depth enough for your liking, or I don't get to it at all for some reason, join the Discord and ask it, and I'll get back to you with a more detailed response. But I'm going to fly through these. I am a little behind on them. We had a great turnout here. So we'll start with Cameron. What caliber player would I give up for Hawkinson? I have Hawkinson in my big league, and I ain't trading him. I mean, I had someone come to me with a good offer today. It was like, who was it? It was like LaVisca Chenault and a good running back. And I said, no, like Hawkinson's virtually untouchable unless I can get a good tight end back in return. That tight end advantage is just so important. So it would take a big upgrade at another position, like a solid running back 2, a very solid high-end wide receiver 2, because Hawkinson just looks like a hack right now in that lineup. Jaden, what's up? How should you set your lineup? Okay, so I'm just going to do this as I read it. Josh Allen, Tannehill, you're going Josh Allen there. Start Aaron Jones, start Najee Harris. I'll pass on Tyson, start Devontae Adams, start Devontae Smith. I'd probably go, Brandon Cooks, Corey Davis. I'm going to lean Cooks for some funneled volume action in Houston, and then I'm going Saints D and Butker. Tanyan or Kmet, full PPR. See, Jared Cook, I like a lot this week. Kmet, we'll see. I would go ahead and go Tanyan and hope for that touchdown upside between these two this week. Wow, a lot of tight end questions. Millie C, what's good? Half PPR, Hooper or Kmet or both, I'm guessing is what this was supposed to say. Man, I'm probably going to go Kmet there. I don't love either, but I'll probably lean Kmet. I think that'll be more of a competitive game. Chris Diaz, LaVisca, or Christian Kirk. I'm going with my boy LaVisca in that one. Eduardo, we got a situation on our hands with Eduardo. Someone dropped Tyler Boyd. First of all, don't do that. What are we doing? Good pickup, though, Eduardo. You already have Higgins and Chase. I think, if I'm ranking these guys right now, I'm still Higgins, Chase, Boyd. So I'd go Higgins, Chase, Boyd in that order. If I'm you, I'm fine to start Higgins and Chase. It doesn't feel great. But if you don't have any other options, I'm fine to do it. And then maybe if one of them has a good week, you look to make a trade this week. So nice work. Yeah, Mike, I got you. All day. Phil, you're a real one. Yeah, Mike, 14-team league is a struggle bus. All right, Cam, circling back on the Hawkinson question. Guy who owns him is stingy. He's offering Hawk and Allen Robinson for CEH and Amari Cooper. No, I would rather see in that case, I'd rather have the CEH Amari Cooper side. I think Cooper is an upgrade from Robinson, and CEH I think is too strong. Like if I have Hawkinson in a league, if someone offered me CEH, I'm probably willing to take that one. Master Samurai 10-man redraft with Kyler Murray. Is it worth keeping Fields on the bench? I think so, because if Fields starts and he shows tremendous upside, like you're going to be able to trade him to somebody else most likely. So I think he's worth a stash. If your league doesn't do a bunch of trades or everyone else doesn't value quarterback, you can probably drop him. But I think he's worth a stash on the bench. Just depends who your other options are. Let's go, Chris. The Darnell Mooney train, if I had to pick like a desperation start of the week, it's probably Darnell Mooney. I just have a feeling, man. It's just that gut feeling. I'm probably trying not to start him. Like ideally, I'm stashing him on my bench unless it's a really deep league. But I just got a feeling. DFS, FanDuel, DraftKings, give me some of that Darnell Mooney. All right, I'm catching up on these questions. Almost there. Christian, thoughts on J-Rob? Is high truly a problem? Let's wait and see. If you have J-Rob, he wasn't someone I was trying to go acquire after week 1. If I have him, I'm just holding for now. Let's see what they do against Denver. Weird game week 1 where they got absolutely boat raced by Houston. So I want to wait and see. I need a bigger sample size. I'm concerned, but I'm not freaking out just yet. Need 2 to own and 1 to start from this group. Hunter Henry, Jawan Johnson, Gesicki, Kmet, O'Shaughnessy. It's not Gesicki. I'm disappointed by that game last week. He's fine to leave on waivers. I think Kmet's the start for now. Jawan Johnson, I know he had the touchdowns, but the targets were low. I'm probably just going Kmet, and I'll stash Hunter Henry. Adam, what do I think about Dalvin Cook? I think he's very good, and he should be started every single week. LIG Elite Echo. I saw a video. You said sit Tyson, but I think he is starting and looked pretty good. Any reason why? And I was fading Tyson last week as well. And here's why. And I know it worked out for you if you started him. My fear with Tyson is that in Baltimore, he's touchdown or bust. He doesn't have a receiving skill set. And last week, that was inflated. He had 3 receptions for 29 yards on 4 targets. Now, if we get into week 4 and he's putting up 3 receptions a game, maybe I'm going to backtrack a little bit and I'll have to reevaluate and say, okay, maybe Tyson gives us more in the passing game than we thought, but his skill set as a player, he's never had that receiving skill set, and the Ravens typically don't throw to the running back. So I think that was a little bit of an anomaly in week 1. And on the ground, 9 carries, 65 yards, and a touchdown. He looked good on the ground, but he missed some pass protection. The Ravens came out and said they played Latavius at the end because they want to have a multifaceted running attack. Now Devontae Freeman's on the active roster. So to me, if Tyson doesn't have a 20-yard rushing touchdown, he's going to give you like 7 points. So I just don't want to bet on a guy getting 8 to 12 carries and probably not getting a lot of passing work. So I'm fading him. I'm not saying he's not going to have good weeks, but he's essentially like, imagine if Dobbins and Gus were still there. He's like starting Gus Edwards if Dobbins was healthy, but he's slightly worse of a player. So that's why I'm fading Tyson right now. Now, if he comes out against the Chiefs, has another great game, snaps are up, carries are up, doing more in the receiving game, might have to reevaluate as we go into next week, but I'm still a little nervous. I think in a desperation situation, you can start him, but if I have other options, I'm probably going with those. All right, Adam, Myles Gaskin, Fournette, or Elijah Mitchell, RB2 spot. Ooh, I'll go Gaskin. He's the safe play here. If it's a PPR league, I'll go Gaskin. Hold or drop Watson. You can drop him at this point. I had him for a little while. I went ahead and dropped him. And then the Ron, half PPR, pick 2. Okay. Robbie, Tyson, Larry Roundtree, Van, KJ Osborne, Tony Jones Jr. Definitely plugging Robbie in, and I'll see this is a perfect example. In this situation, I'll go Tyson Williams because I'm just not blown away by the other options. So you can start him if you're thin elsewhere, but I'm not starting him over some of these other good options. And last one from Adam, 4 good receivers, Ridley, Cooper, AJ Brown. Those are locked in guys. And Antonio Brown looking to trade one and get an upgrade to RB2. Yeah, I love it. Maybe try to move AB, package him with someone else and upgrade that spot. And then it's Jabra. I'm flying here. Full PPR, Woods or AB. I would go with Robert Woods in that situation, just a higher floor, less volatile. And then Sensei, Myles Gaskin, or Edmonds. I'll go Edmonds in this one. I like Edmonds' outlook this week. But that's going to do it for this live stream. Again, join that Discord in the link below if you want to keep the conversation going. If you have more questions, ask about specific trades, start sits, waivers. Stef and I are in there answering questions. We got a great community in there that's going to get back to you with some feedback as well. So again, thank you so much for hanging out. We'll be back Sunday morning planning another live stream before the games kick off. So again, this is Alex from Double Move Sports. Wesley, Christopher, I'm going to hit on these because I like you guys. I'll go T. Higgins over AB. Not too early to panic on J-Rob. Give him one more week. Let's see what happens. And then Gibson and McKissick. McKissick is a threat to his value. It's concerning, but I still think Gibson's going to be a fine RB2. So that's my buzzer beater. Answer those questions. Join that Discord. Give us a subscription. Subscribe on YouTube. Like the video. Helps us out a ton. But we will see you next time. Peace.